Last time, we watched the Dutch build a machine, the first modern corporation, armed, funded by the public, and pointed east. But east toward what exactly? What was out there worth bolting war and trade and a nation's savings together to reach? The answer would fit in the palm of your hand: a handful of dried seeds, a little ground bark, some shriveled buds, things you could carry in a coat pocket. And for these, for a few aromatic plants that grew on islands most Europeans couldn't find on a map, men crossed oceans, sank fleets, and, before this story is done, killed. To understand the VOC, you have to understand the prize. So let's follow the receipts on the most expensive groceries in history. Here's the first strange fact. The whole frenzy turned on a patch of the planet you could barely see. Nutmeg and its sister spice, mace, and we'll come to why one plant gives two, grew in only one place on Earth, a cluster of tiny volcanic islands in the eastern Indonesian seas called the Banda Islands. Not mostly there, nowhere else in the known world. And cloves were nearly as concentrated, growing on another small group to the north, the Moluccas, the original Spice Islands. Pepper was more generous, grown across the Indies and the coasts of India, but even pepper had to be gathered, half a world away, from places no European controlled. So picture it: the most sought after substances on the planet, and the supply of the rarest of them came from islands you could walk across in an afternoon. Control those few acres, and you controlled the spice, the whole of it, everywhere. And consider how far away everywhere was. These islands sat at the far eastern edge of the known world, a journey of many months and many deaths by sea from any European port. The spice that reached an Amsterdam table had crossed the better part of the planet to get there, passed from Bandanese grower to Asian trader to Dutch ship, over a road so long and so dangerous that most of what set out never arrived. Hold that thought. The rarity and the distance, together, are the seed of everything dark that follows.
But why? Why did Europe crave a handful of seeds?
Badly enough to die for them? You may have heard one answer: that they needed spice to hide the taste of rotting meat. It's a tidy story. It's also, historians now agree, mostly a myth. Anyone who could afford nutmeg could afford fresh meat. You don't season your spoiled food with the most expensive thing in the kitchen. The real reasons were three. First, flavor, simply that. After centuries of plain northern cooking, these spices were electric on the tongue, and people wanted them. Second, and bigger, status. Spice was wealth you could taste. To serve nutmeg at your table was to announce in front of your guests that you could afford the rarest thing in the world. It was less a flavor than a flex. And third, medicine. The physicians of the day prescribed these spices for everything: to settle the stomach, to balance the body, and, during the plague years, even to ward off disease. Nutmeg was thought to be a small, fragrant shield against death itself. People wore pomanders of spice at their throats and believed the scent could turn away the sickness in the air. Flavor, prestige, and the fear of dying. Bundle those three together, and you have a demand that does not cool, in good times or bad. When a thing is fashion and status and medicine all at once, the rich will always pay, and pay, and pay. Now that promise I made you: one plant, two spices. The nutmeg tree gives a fruit like a small apricot. Split it, and inside sits the seed. That is your nutmeg. But wrapped around the seed is a brilliant scarlet web, a lacy cage of crimson. Dried, that becomes a second, separate spice: mace. Two products from one fruit on one set of islands with a single owner of the trade. You begin to see why a company might look at the bandas and forget how to breathe. And the cloves to the north were the same logic in another form: buds of a single kind of tree, gathered from a single small archipelago. Whoever held the islands held the world's only tap. Everyone else had to come, cap in hand, and pay the asking price.
So now the number this whole series turns on: the markup.
A merchant could buy nutmeg in the Indies for a few small coins a pound, carry it home across two oceans, and sell it in Amsterdam for many, many times that. By the estimates of the day, and these are contemporary figures passed down and surely sweetened in the telling, the gap between the buying price out east and the selling price back home could run into the thousands of percent. Let that settle. Not 30%, not 300. By the boasts of the merchants themselves, sometimes thousands. A cargo that survived the voyage could pay for the ship, the crew, the losses on other ships that didn't make it, and still leave a fortune behind. These were the most profitable few cubic feet of cargo on the surface of the earth. And here is where the arithmetic turns cold. If the markup is that enormous, then the most valuable thing in the world is not the spice, it is the monopoly on the spice. Because a markup like that only holds while you are the only seller. Let a competitor land one rival cargo in Amsterdam, and the price cracks, and your fortune leaks away. So follow the logic the way the company's directors did. The supply of nutmeg comes from a few small islands. Whoever controls those islands controls the only source on Earth. And the prize for controlling them is not a good profit. It is the single richest trade in the world, held forever against all rivals. Put those facts together, and a terrible conclusion falls out of them. A monopoly like that is worth almost any price, any fleet, any fort, anything. We have followed the receipts, and they have led us to a small green island and a number too large to be safe. Next, we watch what a corporation does when it decides that a monopoly is worth any price at all. And we learn the cost, paid by the people who happen to live on top of the world's only nutmeg.
Spice built the VOC. Not gold, not silk, spice.
A craving for flavor and status and a shield against death, focused down onto a few acres of volcanic soil and multiplied by a markup that could reach into the thousands of percent. It made the company rich beyond reckoning, and it set a price on a cluster of small islands that their inhabitants did not know had been put on their heads. The seeds were worth more than gold. The next episode is about what that was worth in lives. Tareekh ka Hisaab, history audited. Hisaab abhi baki hai.